Okay, make sure everybody's... Eric Gilmore.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to say the name right this time.
Good. You're doing good.
Okay, is everyone ready?
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Janice Gilley, Escambia County, Florida, Administrator. Today, I'd like to recognize the folks that are with me. We have Mayor of the City of Pensacola, Grover Robinson. We have Commissioner Robert Bender, Commission District 4. We have Eric Gilmore, our Emergency Manager. We have Sheriff David Morgan. And we also have Chief Deputy Chip Simmons. And Senator Doug Broxson. Not the least, of course. So we're very thankful to have all of them join us this afternoon. As you know, that we are anticipating a historic flood event throughout the coast and throughout the county. As you know, Escambia County is very committed to making sure that we continue to provide you with communication, constant communication. As you know, we're fixing to be going into the evening hours. And so as we go throughout those hours, there are many ways in which you can stay up to date, not only with us, but also with our local media outlets. Escambia County has a citizens line that's available 24 hours. That line, that number is 850-471-6600. We also encourage you to follow us on Be Ready Escambia, our Facebook and our Twitter sites. Our website is myescambia.com. And then we will continue to provide those updates for Hurricane Sally as we go throughout the early evening and throughout the night. We are also encouraging you that if you would like to, please sign up for the emergency alerts. Those alerts are available on the myescambia.com Storm Center. As we've talked many times, we want you to know your zone, we want you to know your home, and we want you to know your plan. We're getting into those hours in which hopefully you have considered all of these things, like I said, as we go throughout the evening. Our county offices are closed tomorrow, Wednesday, September 16th, and that also includes our landfill and our transfer station. We are also going to be moving our Escambia County Board of County Commissioners regular business meeting that would have been held this Thursday to next Thursday, September 24th. Now, before we go to the next, I'd like to have Eric Gilmore step up and speak with you, but I would like to ask our residents, to stay calm, stay prepared, be very vigilant, and continue to monitor these circumstances as we go throughout the evening. Eric?
Good evening, Eric Gilmore, Escambia County Emergency Manager. Escambia County continues to remain under hurricane warning conditions and will be under this watch through tomorrow morning. Escambia County is also under a flash flood watch. As of now, the watch remains in effect from 5:08 p.m. on Saturday, September 19th. Flooding is one of the most serious concerns that we have with this storm. The amount of rain and storm surge will make this historic flooding event. Please make sure certain that you are taking all precautions and necessary to safeguard you and your family. At 1 p.m. today, the center of Hurricane Sally was located about 60 miles east of the mouth of the Mississippi River and about 105 miles south of Mobile, Alabama. Sally is moving toward the northwest near 2 miles per hour. A slow northwestward turn to the northward motion is expected this afternoon, followed by a slow northward to northeastern motion tonight through Wednesday night. We expect landfall with Sally sometime tomorrow morning. We don't know if it's going to be early or late. It all depends upon the steering currents. We're waiting for our latest update with Mobile weather to see how fast the coastline could be impacted and to see how fast the storm will get out of here. But as of right now, it's at about 1 to 2 miles per hour, hardly moving anywhere. The slow speed of this storm makes it ripe for inundation the area with rain, and we expect upwards of 30 inches of rain. That's going to be in the next 24 to 36 hours. So we're please, if you're in a low-lying area, take your proper precautions now. Do what you need to. We do have our shelters open. The shelter is at the base center. So make sure you take care of yourself, your family, and do what you need to do now to get out of harm's way. As the storm reaches land, the winds will intensify. We will see tropical storm force winds and possibility of hurricane force winds. This will occur overnight toward the morning. Make certain that all outdoor items are brought indoors and secured to avoid flying debris. This will become more pressing as we move toward the morning. Also, the storm heads toward land the storm heads toward land with stronger wind, storm surge becomes a concern. As of this morning, we was expecting 2 to 4 feet of storm surge with the slight east track of the storm. We're expecting 3 to 5 feet of storm surge now. So everybody, please take that into considerations this afternoon as you're trying to make your plans. If you need to get out of the area, go stay with a friend, a family member, a hotel, or our shelter. Please consider that. As of now, there are only voluntary evacuations in Zone A, which do include Pensacola Beach, Perdita Key, Erie Point, and low-lying areas. But please be cognizant that these low-lying areas will be subject to flooding. Evacuations are not mandatory, but we encourage residents to seek higher ground to avoid any flooding risk. As we head into the evening and into overnight, we must stress that it is important to have your hurricane plan in place and have hurricane supplies ready before it's too late. Make certain you have food, flashlights, batteries, and an evacuation plan if needed. We are working closely with state and other partners to ensure we have all the resources we need during this historic flood event. As I mentioned this morning, we've already worked with the state of Florida to receive 6 high water vehicles that are being placed throughout the county if in case we have to go out and do rescues in a flooding situation. The Emergency Operations Center is staffed 24 hours. As of this morning at 7 o'clock, we went to 24-hour operations. So if you need any assistance, please do not hesitate to call 911 if it's a true emergency, or you can call our Citizens Information Line at 850-471-6600 if you have any questions or concerns. As we've been saying, please take the flooding serious. We are going to experience some severe rain, so please take all your proper precautions. The window for preparing is rapidly closing. We will see the situation deteriorate as we get into the night and especially into tomorrow, and we won't see much improvement tomorrow until either late Wednesday afternoon or early Thursday morning. Those are the 2 scenarios that we've been given as far as how quick this storm might get out of here. So please take that in consideration. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Doug Bronson.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, sir.
Just spoke with Jarek Moskowitz with the Department of Emergency Management, and they have requested that the President declare the Florida as a pre-land designation as he has with Mississippi and Alabama. He's sending over 125 National Guards and whatever resources we need. I would like to tell you I've spoken to Secretary Tebow this morning and District Secretary Gaynor about the bridge situation. I think you know that 2 of Skanska's barges broke loose from the moorings, actually pulled a cleat out from both vessels. One touched the fishing bridge, the other actually went under the Bay Bridge, and the equipment on there bumped the top of the bridge, causing some concrete to drop. They will have a team coming over. Unfortunately, they cannot use their equipment they normally use to drop the engineers down to the site of the damage. They'll have to do it by vessel, and that will not be until the wind and the water subside. It's unfortunate. I hate it. I believe that the contractor who I spoke to this morning believes there's minimal damage, but he will not certify that. He wants the state to certify it to give the public assurance that we're okay. I think the obvious question is, how does this happen? Unfortunately, many of us listen to the National Weather Report. Their protocol as a company is based on that report. They felt like the storm was moving to the New Orleans, Mississippi area. Obviously, as we all are, we were incorrect. So we believe that issue will be resolved fairly quickly. The good news is that we have one of the largest contractors in the world that has over $100 million of equipment that can immediately get on any problem that should be there if there is an issue, and the inconvenience to the public going from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola would be short-lived, hopefully. But we are going to get through this, as Mrs. Gilley says. It's going to primarily, I think the state is concerned more about the water issue than they are the wind issues, but we want people to be extremely careful and make sure that they stay safe. Thank you. Mayor? Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Senator Broxton, and thank you for your help with the bridge situation. I'm Commissioner Robert Bender, Escambia County District 4. I want to talk a little bit about what we're expecting. We are all familiar with heavy rain events, and we're also familiar with hurricanes and tropical storms, and we're going to see a little bit of both with this. So for our citizens along the coast, you are going to see some of those tropical storm winds. We have seen the storm surge increase expected in the 3 to 5 foot range. And then inland, we are expecting 20 inches or more of rain. And so we want everybody to be prepared, know your plan, and stay safe. So we aren't expecting as strong of winds, but the storm surge, we have seen it throughout the coastal areas on Pensacola Beach and Perdido Key with the intercoastal waterway experiencing high volumes of water that have come on shore. Also along Pensacola, which Mayor Robinson will talk about. And then inland, as we see these precedented rainfall event, our rivers and other low-lying areas will start to flood. So the other thing is that typically we'd be able to respond to those flooding events with our high water vehicles, but if we do have the tropical storm sustained winds, we will not be able to respond. And so that's why we want you to pay attention to what's going on. And as Eric said, please get out while there's still time, and that it's safe for our crews to operate should anything happen. So please watch the weather and watch myescambia.com for further additional information. At this point, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Moore. Sorry, one last thing. For any resident on Pensacola Beach, as we did say, though, the 3-mile bridge is closed right now. The Garcon Point Bridge is available for residents that are leaving Santa Rosa County and Pensacola Beach, and that toll is currently waived for anyone who needs to evacuate that area. Thank you very much. Sheriff Morgan.
I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan. I'll just address really one issue that we've been getting a lot of calls on, and I'll let Chief Simmons brief you on, the rest of the law enforcement things that we're doing. Of course, we're answering all 911 calls, so let everybody know that there's certain functions that shut down in the county during an emergency operation. It's not first responders. Your hospitals will always be open, fire department, EMS, and law enforcement will always respond, of course. I want to address the issue of the bridges. Got a lot of phone calls from the media and from some citizens that, oh my God, you've closed the bridges, we can't do whatever. The industry standard, folks, coming up on 12 years as a sheriff, has always been, the 39-mile-an-hour gust threshold, meaning when it sustains at 39, the FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, says it's not safe to traverse these bridges because of the wind gusts, and we shut them down. Now, what you're seeing now, because of the cyclonic circular motion of our hurricane, you're getting gusts, and then there's no gusts or no wind at all. And so that's causing the consternation with people. Well, you got the bridge closed, and I'm standing out here on the bridge, and I'm looking at your deputies, and there's, why are you closing the bridge? So I will tell you, we're trying to, exercise a tremendous amount of common sense with this. We realize, when we were at lunch today and some of the bridges started closing, that people were saying, well, you've got a mother that, ran over to Winn-Dixie while her husband watched the baby to buy formula, and now she can't get back home. We understand all those, human things that we've got to deal with. So we have supervisors posted at the bridge. Now, you may be asked for your driver's license and your address, to where you live, but we're certainly not going to keep someone from that scenario I just described to you, or someone who works in Alabama that needs to get home, unless we are in the midst of the storm, at which time you will not cross that bridge because we will close them. If that hurricane turns towards us and we get hurricane force winds, no one's going to be allowed on any bridge. But when we get these gusts that then taper off to a little bit of nothing, again, we're going to exercise supervisory common sense and allow people to access their homes and to access their businesses, and of course to get goods and services that they need to sustain life. So with that, we're going to work with everyone, but also understand that when those winds get up to a sustained number, like we hit 44 at one point at Perdido and all that, and we close those bridges, that's just what we're going to do, and it's for your safety. It's not because we want to close the bridges. We don't get any extra money for closing the bridges and angering the citizenry. We do it for your safety. Okay? And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Simmons. Chief.
Thank you, Sheriff. Chief Deputy Chip Simmons. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty, obviously, about where this storm is going to go. But one thing I can tell you for certain is the Escambia County Sheriff's Office will have sheriff's deputies throughout our county, just like we did today. I talked to our dispatcher, and what they tell me is it's been a routine day, routine calls for service. We have not had a single call to rescue a stranded motorist, not a single call to go to a home, someone's house has been flooded. So the Sheriff's Office will be there, and we will be answering phone calls, 911 calls, and our non-emergency lines as well.
But also, during the storm, we'll be out there, and again, until it becomes unsafe for us to do so. And we don't know if we'll even get those conditions. But I can guarantee you that the Sheriff's Office will be there until we can no longer safely be out there. And only then will we pull our deputies in. After the storm, a lot of people are asking us, well, if I evacuate, I run a risk of having my home looted or someone coming into my home. Well, again, we will be in your neighborhoods after the storm. We'll do our best to make sure that your homes, if you have had evacuated, or even if you have not evacuated, that our neighborhoods are safe, even in post-storm type of conditions. And I would just reiterate what everyone's already said. Take stock of what your own vulnerabilities are. And if you're in a low-lying area, you need to understand you might want to go. If you've heard any of the previous storms that we've had here in Pensacola or anywhere, and you've heard some of the 911 calls, you know how terrifying and gut-wrenching they are. Don't be in a situation where you have to make a phone call and a sheriff's deputy or a firefighter or a paramedic cannot get to you. So please use all the caution that you possibly can, because sometimes these storms come and they can cause life-threatening situations. Thank you.
Like Escambia County, Grover Robinson, Mayor of the City of Pensacola. Like Escambia County, the city will be closed tomorrow except for emergency operation personnel. Certainly our police and fire will be there. Some extent of public works will be there as well, dealing with public safety as well. So airport will be closed. Port of Pensacola will continue to be closed. There will be no garbage pickup tomorrow, so for Wednesday. So again, if you were the Tuesday pickup, we're probably looking, and we'll let you know tomorrow. But obviously, can't know anything until we have a chance to assess damage and whether we can even make a run on Thursday. But we will be there. I've talked with John Pittman. We will be sure to get your garbage one way or another once we can and once the storm has gone past. I ask you to continue to heed the advice of what's given here. Obviously, this shows what we've known for a long time with storms. They are unpredictable. We've gotten very good at tracking them, but when steering currents don't allow, they can go anywhere. So the best part is always to be prepared. This is why we told you, go buy batteries, go buy water, and we need to do that. Now, the good news is it is not going to be as much of a wind event, although we will see more wind than we had expected. But rain and certainly storm surge are issues. I spent the morning going through most of the northern part of the city, and it was kind of interesting a little bit of how different. There was not as much rain. The good news is all the work that our crews had done to clear out our debris, all our stormwater drains were working well, and I saw you could hear them running, so that was good to hear those things running. But I will say there was one road closure I know at Leesway because of a down power line, which again goes back to be incredibly careful if you're out there, and if you see down power lines, call us immediately at the city at 311 and let us know, and also Gulf Power. I talked with Rick Byers today. They obviously want to know if there's a line down so that they can get it addressed. Be very careful and do not go near it. So at this point, then I switched down today. This morning, ended up going to see Chief Craner, spent some time with Pensacola Fire Department and Chief Leiter, and much like the sheriff mentioned, they certainly will be there and continue to take care of you. And we had the opportunity to take a look at some of the things that were going on. We had a chance to go out and see what was going on Main Street. We had some challenges, both Bayou Tahar, a few in Bayou Chico with the high water. But most of the places are places we know we have problems with water, which are 9th Avenue down by Bayfront, DeVillers Street by Main Street, and certainly over by Sanders Beach. Sanders Beach, we did not know any homes today that had water necessarily get to them, but clearly there's a significant amount of water in some of the roads, caused us to have some closures. The other big issue was the pond at the Community Maritime Park actually topped the road and came into Main Street. So there was a portion of Main Street, as well as the old Washerwoman's Creek that runs right there by Baskerville Donovan and Bruce Beach, also managed to breach Main Street today. So we had a few closures. We got down there this afternoon. The tide had gone back out. It had receded. But obviously tomorrow, with the storm coming in, as I think you heard Mr. Gilmore say, at the time it's going to be coming in, we need to be certainly out of those areas. Those areas will probably be closed again tomorrow. As we close tonight, we'll probably go ahead and advance close those areas so they will not be accessible. Right now, take stock of what you are, where you're located, and what you need to do. Fortunately for most of us, I think in the city we're up on what we have most of our hills, but there are several people who are in low-lying areas. If you are in a low-lying area, You need to either make plans now to either find a friend or a relative that lives in high ground or get to the base center. Again, once we get past tonight, we're going to go into another high tide cycle, and there's not going to be an opportunity for you to leave at that point. So again, we also are going to be dealing with significantly more rain. The rain was much heavier downtown today than it was up in the north end. That will be extending throughout the city limits as well as Escambia County. So again, be prepared and understand what's going to happen with water. And then most importantly, have your plan, get there, and stay at your house. I think what was echoed here all over, whether it's Escambia County or the city of Pensacola, please stay at home and stay safe, and we will be sure to take care of things, do an assessment, and let you know as soon as we can open and as soon as we can begin to deliver services. That's our goal to you. We want to deliver services, so we will be done as soon as we can and be ready to go.
Before we take questions, I did want to make a comment. As you can see, we are all in the same boat rowing together. I think it's important for you to know that. We are all here working for the citizens of Escambia County. We have the county commissioners working all together. We have the sheriff. We have the city. And then, of course, we have the state delegation working with us. They are in constant contact with the governor as well. Their office is in contact with us. And then we also have the Florida Department of Emergency Management. We also have Mr. Gilmore managing a huge team out there in our EOC, all of our different agencies and organizations. We're here to serve you. So please be reassured. We're here for you now. We'll be here for you the evening, and we'll be here for you tomorrow. And then, of course, if there's a need for recovery, we'll also be here for you for recovery. So having said that, if you have any questions, we've been more than happy to start taking.
You just mentioned that we're all in the same boat together. Speaking of boats, though, are we going to have boats in case of flooding get pretty significant? I mean, and who are we using to help after that?
I'll let Mr. Gilmore answer that, but I do know that he has had a swift water team come, and then also the vehicles that he's mentioned. So.
Yes. So, along with the sheriff's office, they have a marine unit that is on standby, ready to assist with boats. We have the high water vehicles coming in. We have a swift water rescue team coming in from South Florida. They're bringing marine assets as well. And we've pulled the jet skis and the Zodiacs from the Pensacola Beach and Perdita Key, so we have boats inland as well. FWC's ready to assist with the state, so we do have marine assets, boat assets ready to go. Yes.
And just so you know, this is not a mandatory evacuation. This is actually a voluntarily evacuation for what's best for the people, right? Because I don't want people at home to get confused because we're talking about.
That's correct. So it is a voluntary evacuation of Zone A, Pensacola Beach, Perdita Key, Inter Point, and low-lying areas. Yes, sir.
You said you're expecting 3 to 5 feet of flood, Eric?
Yeah.
A storm surge. What areas will that affect? What kind of damage are you expecting from that?
So we're going to see some coastal flooding. We've already seen some as we went through this morning through the high tide cycle. I think we was around 3.2 feet is what we saw this morning. We'll see some elevation in that. We'll see some roads being cut off here intermittently, especially at Inter Point, Perdita Key, Pensacola Beach. We'll see some of that crossing over. But that's what we're anticipating. Nothing major washing out or anything that we're anticipating at this time.
Do you have any reports? There's some flood warnings for the rivers in Escambia County. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, good question. So this morning I was reporting, I've got the report from Mobile Weather that because we had enough freeboard in our rivers and they were low enough that we would see some inundation in the rivers, but we wouldn't go above flood stage. That is now to be corrected with our 20-inch increase, that we will go to a major flood stage for Perdita River, and we'll go to a moderate or high-end flood stage for Escambia River, which will affect some of the residents along those two rivers. We have put the notice out, and we'll do an Everbridge alert to notify those residents that the potential's there. Yes, sir.
Jim, on that item, I think if you experienced high water today at 10 o'clock when we had high tide, then it's going to be worse tomorrow. So I think if you experience something today and you had a chance to see water get up to your house, it's going to be worse tomorrow. So I would go ahead and make plans right now to do that before this evening. I think that's why we're here to talk to you today. If you saw water get up to your house today, go ahead. I know there's some people in the Sanders Beach. I know there's some people in Bayou Tahar, Bayou Chico that I saw. I would tell those people right now to make plans, either go see a relative or a friend, or if you have nowhere else to go to the shelter, because it's going to be worse tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It's that's going to be our biggest challenge.
I have a question from a viewer. They're asking about what we're expecting for Century.
Do I need to repeat that, Laura?
They're asking what the weather expectations are for Century.
For Century Florida, you're going to see tropical storm force sustained winds. We're talking anywhere from 60 to 70 mile an hour winds in the Century area. Going through tonight, you'll see wind gust increase, and you'll see sustainability through tomorrow, and you'll see 20 up to 20 inches. You're in the hot zone too for massive rain amount, so possibly up to 20 inches in Century as well.
Yeah, and Sheriff Morgan, this is actually for you. We were talking about the bridges, closing down at a certain speed, wind velocity.
Right.
Are we going to have detours or anything that's going to help, instead of taking these bridges, that's going to help people get around? To where
Yeah,
they need to go?
we will normally tell folks to detour around, and the deputies that are posted there will give them directions. Or, actually when FDOT closes bridges, I think they can also GPS it, and they'll get directions on how to go around. Like right now with the 3 Mile Bridge being closed, obviously you got to go around Interstate 10, but I think 10's closed now too. At least it was earlier before the press conference. So right now, you're just going to have to hold in place for many of these areas. Now, again, we're working with folks when the gusts drop down, but you may find yourself trapped. So, as everybody here is telling you, prepare now, shelter in place. If you are, hopefully you're done with anything you need to do that's necessity. Your car's full of gas, you've got plenty of groceries and water, etc. at home. You need to stay home for the next 36 to 48 hours until this thing passes, and then everything will be fine.
Now, you also mentioned before, because this is not our first rodeo, we've been going through storms like this for decades and everything else.
Right.
But I did notice, of course, driving around and everything else,
Right.
I did not see a lot of people boarding this time, or a lot of sandbags this time. Are they taking this storm a little lightly?
Well, it happens every time. It's as the senator so aptly pointed out. Everybody was watching the storm track, and it was going along at a reasonable speed, and it was heading where? To Louisiana. And so, it's going to hit over Louisiana and Mississippi area, so dodge that bullet. And then we let our guard down, and it shifts a little bit, but it's still not coming towards us. So, this is the old thing. Sadly, you can cry wolf too many times, and people do get complacent. So we hope that you're heeding the warning now. If you're in the low-lying area, again, we can't come out, and by the way, we call it a mandatory evacuation. By law, I can't drag you out of your house. We can't fix stupid, unfortunately, and that's really what it comes down to. If you're told to evacuate by the authorities, you need to listen and evacuate. We don't tell you that because we make extra money. And so in this case, it's a voluntary evacuation. So if you stay in your home, what we worry about, that Chief Simmons so aptly pointed out, is we get to that juncture now where we can't respond to you because the storm is on top of us. And we're sheltering in place in our precincts. They're set up for that. And then we're going to come out with the fire department. We're going to have the chainsaws, et cetera, and clear the major thoroughfares so EMT and the fire department can get to you. But that's going to be a while. So that's what we fear, is that you don't heed the warnings and exercise a good dose of common sense, and then you need assistance, and there's no one there to respond. So listen to the warnings. You've got the mayor, you've got a senator, you've got the county administrator. Everybody down the line is telling you to exercise some common sense. So folks, take some notes. Sit up and take notice. Okay.
Final question, and I've worked with everybody for many, many years. But who's looking out for our road crew and, say, Gulf Power? They're the ones that are actually out there in the front line in the middle of all this stuff, too, trying to keep everybody safe. So what are we doing to keep them?
Well, it's kind of like who's looking out for law enforcement, who's looking out for fire department, who's looking out for EMT. You're talking about a cadre of trained professionals. That's what they do for a living. That's why I don't go out there and mess with high-powered lines, because I'm not qualified to do that. They are. So they've got their folks in place, and trust me, I trust these folks. They're professionals. They're watching out for each other just like we do. Okay.
I would certainly say, whoever it is, we visited, had a chance today to visit, and it was great, again, to get some lunch to firefighters and police officers, but also what you said, road crews. And I appreciate you saying that, because they do an incredible job. In fact, in East Hill today, we've had a couple of large limbs going to streets. We still are able to address those through 311. Contact us. We'll get out there and try to address it. But like the sheriff said, at some point, the wind's going to get where none of our road crews can come out. We won't be able to respond until it's after the storm. So again, if something happens, people have been sending in 311. We've had road crews out taking care of some down limbs. I know in East Hill we've had some of those, but we'll continue to look at that. The biggest thing is, you see a power line, stay away from it. That happened on Lee's Way, so stay away from it.
Let me just real quickly say, you need to listen to these folks. Social media has all kind of theories, all kind of things going on right now, where they stopped and talked to someone and they said some outrageous thing about what happened. These are credible sources. Listen to the news. You're credible. We believe in you. So we're going to get through this. It's not going to be an Ivan. It's going to be something we can deal with. We're very fortunate that it didn't pick up speed, but hopefully it's going to drop in speed. And everyone's looking at it, and we're going to make sure that people are safe and that we are doing what we have to do to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you.